What's going on, guys? Greg here, and I would just want to go into a little bit more detail about Logic's compressor or Logic's EQ. In the last video, we discussed the three main knobs that you'll find in almost any EQ, which is frequency, gain, and the Q knob or bandwidth. And we went over these curves up here. We have the high or low cut, high cut, low shelf, high shelf, and all the bell curves here. We didn't really go over the analyzer. We didn't really go over Q coupling and gain Q couple strength. So today I'd like to go into that. Now, an analyzer, that's this curve in here. And what's kind of nice about this is you can really see what your audio is doing. So it shouldn't be used as a substitute for your ears, but it can certainly help you see where where your sound needs work. So if you have, like in this sound, I felt like there was way too many low mid frequencies and bass frequencies. This is just a quick little piano loop, and I'll play that in a second, but there was way too much low end. I mean, you can tell in here, this is all low frequencies coming from it and low mids, and then there's like tiny little bit of high end. So what I did was I cut out the lows, I cut out a little bit of those low mids, I took out some resonant frequencies that I felt like were really coming out and not really doing the sound any favors, and I just gave a little bit of a high shelf on the high end, and then I took out another resonant frequency that was popping out here, felt like we really didn't need. So you can affect the resolution, which if you change this to high or low, it's just going to affect how detailed this analyzer is. Let me show you. There's a lot more peaks now, and you can see in more detail what's happening to your audio. I find that most of the time medium works just fine. And the analyzer mode is peak or root mean square. Now peak is going to show you all these peaks. Kind of a self-explanatory thing. You can see what frequencies are peaking, where there's too much of something or where there's too little of something. And root mean square, this is an average of the overall audio level. It's a bit more of an accurate representation to how we hear sounds. So let me just switch between the two and show you the difference. It's a much slower measurement and metering. But everything seems to be a little bit more even in the root mean square setting. So, I mean, you could use either or. There's no real right or wrong, I suppose, but I would stick to peak. Generally, just so you can really see what frequencies are popping out and which ones are maybe lacking a little bit easier, instead of the ones that are just averaged together to give you an accurate representation visually of what you would hear. The analyzer decay is just going to select how fast or slow you want the analyzer to, well, decay. Much faster and much slower. This defaults to 10. And now Q couple, this is an interesting concept. Let me pull up this EQ again and really open this up here. So I guess I'll use this guy. Open up the Q a bit. Boost. There we go. And the Logic defaults to asymmetrical strong. And now this is going to make, whenever you boost, you're going to have a wider bandwidth by default, and whenever you cut, you're going to have a more narrow bandwidth. I don't know if you just see what I just did there. It's a lot wider up here, and watch the ends if you're not really seeing it. It stops at about, what, maybe like 7K up here, and when I take it down, it's only going to about 3K. So this is a much more narrow Q and a much more narrow cut, and that's because of the gain Q couple strength here. It just affects how the gain and the Q interact with each other based on different boosts and cuts. Now, you don't have to have it on. You can turn it off. Same with the analyzer. You can turn that off too. And if you turn it off, it's just going to be the same kind of curve on both sides. But what's nice about the Q-couple is that majority of people are going to say you should always do a wide boost and a narrow cut. That's because of different phasing issues you run into when you start doing really narrow boosts, I guess. So it's just kind of nice to have a EQ, and this defaults to asymmetrical strong, by the way. If you put it to light, it's kind of the same thing as turning off the Q couple. So, yep, just wide on both the top and the bottom. So, asymmetrical strong, that's what Logic defaults to. And again, guys, it just affects how the gain and the Q interact with each other when boosting or cutting an EQ frequency range. And oversampling is going to double the EQ sampling rate, which gives you more precise cuts and more precise boosts. You can edit more precisely, but it's going to cost you a little bit of CPU. So that's really it, guys. Hope you learned a lot. Oh, you know what? No, that's not it. I'm going to go over the processing. Stereo is just going to let you use the EQ and affect both the left and the right side of your stereo field with one EQ. Left only is going to affect everything that's coming out of your left speaker. Right only is going to affect everything coming out of your right speaker. Mid only is going to affect everything in the mono realm of your mix. So that's in the smack dab middle of your mix down. This is good for basses. This is actually a few techniques where you can clean up your entire mix on like a mix bus with mid-side EQ, and I'll get into that in another video. Side only is going to affect everything on the sides of your mix. You're not going to hear the middle, you're just going to hear the sides and what's going on in both the wide left and wide right. So that is it, guys, and I hope you learned a lot. Stay tuned for more, and as always, have a great day and happy producing.